I wanted to make a cartoon that I could share around Christmas time, and after looking at a couple of ideas, some about Santa, something about the Nativity, I decided to go a little more abstract but also modern and look at something with Christmas lights. Initially, I wasn't sure if they would be characterized. As you can see in this sketch, there's a couple happy face Christmas lights or some little Christmas lights, and even the house itself had kind of a face, even in the rough sketch. But I decided to push forward with the design of the story and then worry about the design of the lights. I created a rough version all in Toon Boom Studio with just the basic idea of lights jumping from one building to another. In this case, several buildings around another building that has no lights. So the idea would be that the lights wanted to share themselves so that each building had some Christmas. So I created this very rough version of just sort of the shapes and the basic idea of the lights. And I liked how it looked, so I decided to move forward on creating this cartoon. I came up with the idea of a residential street with a couple houses. One would be unlit, and the other would have lights, and then a couple small apartment buildings around them as well. And those would have lights also to share with the unlit house. I decided I also wanted to show someone in the unlit house, someone who would be cheered up by the idea of the lights moving from the other buildings to their building. So I created this child. I did want the jumping of the lights to work smoother than it had in the rough version. The rough version kind of told me the idea looked good, but the jumping of the lights was kind of haphazard. And I wanted the color distribution and the jumping arc to actually look pleasing. So I mapped out where the colored lights would start and where they would finish. And then on paper, I sketched the lights jumping path. And this I then used to create a jump path layer within the Toon Boom Studio cartoon workspace. So this version here actually features the jump layer, which I would later remove. All the lights then are simply moved along their jump path to their final destination, and then later the jump path layer would just need to be muted when the cartoon was rendered. The cartoon itself is pretty simple. There's basically two different shots, full street and the close-up of the kid in the window. And the kid in the window is really just reduced in size and pasted onto the full street shot to include him. What you have is a background, which includes the sky and the buildings behind. Then you have the layer of the four buildings, the two houses and the two apartment buildings that are the buildings featured in the cartoon. Then there is a layer of snow, because I knew I wanted to include snow, because being in Edmonton, we almost always have snow on Christmas, but I didn't want it to be too overwhelming, so I just added some snow laying about. I mean, this could be early in December. This could be after a couple snowstorms and meltings. And then there's the top layer, which is the lights. Basically, the lights don't go behind anything else. They are in the foreground. The only time the lights are behind anything is when they cross paths. And that would be so brief, really only a 24th of a second, so it didn't really have to be much of a consideration. When I was finished animating the cartoon, I started to question the addition of the kid. The kid hadn't originally been in the idea, and I thought, well, what if the kid wasn't there? Would it be cleaner? Would it be more of an interesting abstract idea, just the lights and the houses? So I did cut a version together where the lights in the windows of the house that was going to receive all the Christmas lights were darkened. Nobody is there. In the end, having the kid turned out to be the better version. I knew for the music that I wanted to have an instrumental version of a classic Christmas carol. Due to the length of the cartoon, it wouldn't be full verses and choruses. It would just be a few sections of the carol cut to kind of give you the overall feel of it, but in that short period of time, and to just kind of pleasantly accompany what you're seeing as well. I had debated O Holy Night But right from the beginning, the first Noel kind of hit me as one that would give a nice sound and be able to be cut and pasted in an arrangement that would still have the feeling, but also accompany the short cartoon well. I had previously recorded acoustic guitar and banjo for other short cartoons I'd done. So for this one, wanting to have something a little different and also wanting to keep the sound very light, I used the ukulele to record my short version of the first Noel. And so here is the final version of Lights.